Welcome back to the Lee Davis Show. Appreciate Quinn Hilliard joining us. Another great guest straight in front of you. We'll get his perspective on yesterday's rather entertaining, to put it mildly, proceedings in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, the Chuck Hagel nomination. And I used to talk to people that hated watching these things. I hated watching any kind of congressional hearing because I thought they were boring, dull, whatever. Yesterday was a lot of things that wasn't boring and dull. And our good friend Adam Kredo of the Washington Free Beacon joins us to get his perspective. Hey, Adam, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
And, Adam, I know you've been around Washington a long time. You cover these things extremely well. Have you ever seen a less impressive performance from a prospective nominee than what we saw from Senator Hagel yesterday?
Well, it was really often brutal at times to watch Hagel turn himself in circles, twist himself in knots, trying to answer questions, and when he wasn't struggling to answer these questions, he was recanting and backtracking on positions that he's held for more than 2 decades. So I think that was quite unique in this hearing.
And Adam, let's just get to the chase first. We'll talk about what exactly he said yesterday, but you're a good vote counter up there. How much does yesterday's performance put his nomination in actual jeopardy? Is a chance, despite the fact there are 55 Democrats in the Senate, that he might not make it?
Look, there's always the chance if a senator puts a hold or filibusters it, and it's unclear at this point exactly if that'll happen. I know that Senator Lindsey Graham indicated maybe last week that he might be willing to do that, but it's unclear at this point. In terms of an actual vote count, is his nomination in jeopardy? It does not look like it. You could have every Republican, of course, come out against it, and that's not even the case. At least one Republican, Thad Cochran, has endorsed Hagel, and according to them, has not backtracked yet, and I reached out to their office yesterday.
Well, just looking at it, what was some of the most devastating moments? I certainly think when Senator Ted Cruz, the freshman senator from Texas, who I think is turning out to be a superstar, a Heisman Trophy winner, if you want to use sports analogies there. I thought when he played those tapes of Hagel's appearances on Al Jazeera, I thought those were particularly devastating.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting to watch Hagel try to account for the things that he said in the past while claiming that he's had a complete change of heart, which is really what he's arguing, that everything he once believed on the nuclear front, eradicating the world's and America's nuclear arms, that he no longer believes that he did not intend to criticize this so-called Jewish lobby that apparently intimidates, as he put it, lawmakers on Capitol Hill. He said he was sorry for that poor choice of words and that he shouldn't have said it on the record. So who knows what he'd be willing to say off the record if that's in fact the case. But on all of these fronts, he really was struggling, and Cruz's grilling of him, I think, was a particularly good example of Hagel being held to account for the things that he said in the past and things that could influence his job in the Pentagon if he makes it there.
And Adam, you're a great reporter. You're also a Jewish American. Did you find the comments about the quote Jewish lobby? Did you find those particularly offensive?
Well, look, it's not a matter of offensive as much as what it implies, and to many, particularly an older generation of Jewish Americans and Americans that saw the state of Israel struggle for statehood and then become an actual state in 1948. This is very offensive and very troubling and very reminiscent of some of the things that white supremacist movements and others have said, and that's the issue of dual loyalty, that American Jews can in no way be loyal to America because they care about Israel's interests before they care about America's. And that's what you're implying when you use this term Jewish lobby, that it's just Jewish Americans nefariously getting together to somehow control the strings or manipulate U.S. foreign policy, and that conjures up a lot of perverted and very frightening images that, of course, are not true at all. Israel is an issue that Americans of all ethnicities, religions rally behind because it's an issue that's in the interest of the U.S. and Western values, that Israel is really a beacon of democracy in the Middle East, and that's why we support it, not because people are Jewish or somehow have a religious attachment to it. That's often part of it, but hardly the majority case for Israel. But Hagel really dredged that up.
And Adam, if you look at the fullness of the comment, and I'm totally paraphrasing here about how the Jewish lobby had intimidated senators into supporting dumb things. I'd like to know, first of all, his definition of the Jewish lobby, how they intimidated senators, what senators were intimidated, and what his idea of, quote, dumb things were.
Yeah, I'd like to know that, too, and he certainly didn't answer the question. Lindsey Graham, who of course has a lot of experience in grilling people, was really trying to hammer down on this and asked Hagel up front and outright, who is it that's been intimidated? Name one person. Hagel said, I don't know. That was his quote. I don't know. Graham asked him again, what dumb things have they pressured people to do? Hagel could not answer this question. So it was quite perplexing to see him avoid taking accountability for some of the things that he said in the past, particularly on that front, which really did cause concern in the Jewish community.
And what was almost comical, Adam, he apparently did not even understand what the purported policy on Iran is from the administration about nuclear weapons, saying he supported the president's position on containment. In fact, the president's official position, we can argue about whether it really has teeth or that's the real position, is the position that Iran should not be allowed to get nuclear weapons.
That's right. That is the president's position, and Hagel either misspoke or is not entirely certain of what the White House's position is. He was later handed a note that came from who knows where, and he clarified his remarks. But what's interesting about that slip-up, if it was a slip-up, is that Hagel, in fact, has advocated for containment in the past. That is actually Hagel's policy, or at least has been before he had this sudden change of heart. So Hagel really has advocated in favor of containing Iran, saying that it's not an existential threat to the U.S., things of this nature. So that's his policy, and maybe he'd push it if he becomes a Pentagon chief.
And one constant that you get over and over is that any barbs he directs, frankly, go at Jews, and any supportive comments he makes, no matter how bizarre they are, seem to be defending Iran.
Well, look, they certainly are. I mean, Hagel is embedded in a pro-Iran network. This is something that I reported here at the Free Beacon, that Hagel sits on the board of a group called Plowshares, which not many people know, but they should, because they direct a lot of money to a lot of organizations. And aside from advocating for zero global nukes, they also advocate for a lifting of U.S. sanctions on Iran and for increased engagement with Tehran, a regime that sponsors terrorism across the globe. And all of these groups that Hagel's Plowshares support financially, many of them have actually come out to defend Hagel. So there's a cyclical relationship going on there.
Yeah, and that Global Zero group, talk a little more about that report, Adam. A lot of people don't know much about that.
That's right. The Global Zero report is very important, and Hagel's name is featured prominently on it. And despite what Hagel said under grilling from senators, what this report advocates is the eradication, and not the theoretical eradication, but the actual eradication of U.S. nukes and nukes across the globe, and says that this should be done at a specified date. So clearly the position here is that we need to get rid of all of our nukes, that we don't even keep a certain number in the stockpile. It also advocates in favor of getting rid of ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, things that, of course, America needs to defend itself in an increasingly dangerous world. Hagel says the report didn't say any of these things. I urge people to read it because it does say clearly these things.
And I thought, again, talking about Senator Graham, I thought he was very candid when he said that in what way were you, Senator Hagel, qualified in what are arguably some of the most dangerous times in the history of the world?
Well, yeah, look, I think that's true, and I think Graham hit at a lot of important points in his grilling. And what's also interesting to me, I just kind of want to point this out, was the manner in which Graham questioned him, very relaxed, laid back. And I think we saw this from a lot of the GOP senators in grilling Hagel, that it was Hagel who was in the hot seat. And this is directly different than the Clinton testimony on Benghazi, where she appeared in control. Hagel did not seem to be able to control the room quite like Clinton did, and therefore it appeared that he really was not certain of what he was talking about.
Yeah, and when he kind of gave the excuse that it was okay that he wasn't really that informed because, quote, he wouldn't be running anything. Adam, he would be running the Pentagon, one of the most important things in the entire world.
You're absolutely right. He would be running the Pentagon, and he said several things along these lines that I think might be concerning for observers, that he doesn't know things and he plans to learn, or that he doesn't need to know these things because somewhere someone will be telling him. I think this is concerning in terms of the managerial experience of this nominee. Is this person fit not just with the positions that he holds, but with his ability to manage, to effectively run a bureaucracy as large and complicated as the Pentagon? And it's not clear from what he said yesterday that he is, in fact, up to that task.
Yeah, no question about that, Adam. And one thing I do think the senators could have done a better job yesterday of asking more specific questions about what he believes about the necessity of certain missile systems, certain weapon systems, what he believes our overall strategy should be over toward what we deploy, where and what around the world. I would have liked to see more specificity from the senators there, and certainly I would have been very interested to hear Senator Hagel's answers there.
Yeah, I would have liked to, too, and it's interesting. We listened to 8 hours of testimony, and there's still many more questions that need to be asked. Ted Cruz actually, towards the end, got at this, and I think it's very important, though Cruz kind of dropped the ball a little bit in not being explicit. He brought up Hagel's relationship to a man named Chaz Freeman, who has been nominated by the administration in the past. And Chaz Freeman has said many concerning things about the American Jewish community, calling them a fifth column and things of this nature that are highly concerning. I'd like to see Hagel explain what exactly that relationship is, because they do serve together at the Atlantic Council, the organization that Hagel's at.
Yeah, and I will tell you, maybe, Adam, you're not comfortable saying this, but I will say it. I think Chaz Freeman is a flaming anti-Semite.
Well, look, many of the things he said do point in that direction. You never know what's in a man's heart, but repeatedly has made many concerning comments that have raised red flags from the mainstream American Jewish community.
Adam, I've got to run out very quickly. Mind if I put you on hold? I have a few more questions.
Sure.
Thanks. So we'll continue with Adam Kredo, outstanding reporter for the Washington Free Beacon, talking about the very entertaining, to put it mildly, and very disturbing, to put it quite seriously, the Chuck Hagel nomination process yesterday on Capitol Hill. We'll be back.